lot of the times campaigns are just aesthetic or art direction, but it doesn't necessarily tie to the product. 7.7 ounces and 44 millimeters of stack height. The storytelling around that spec was really important because it emphasized what the product was about.
This is Matt Dilorenzo, CEO of TYR, the brand that spent 40 years dominating the swim world. Now they're taking over CrossFit, running and lifting.
We've made some amazing speed suits that have helped Olympians win gold medals and break world records. So we have that heritage of making performance product, and it's not going to be like one shoe that puts you on the map. People will perceive it as one shoe that puts you on the map, but for us, it's like we've been trying and coming out with lots of products, and we have lots of shoes.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Out of Office. Today, we have Matt Dilorenzo, CEO of TYR. We're not going to waste any time because we have an event to get to. The first thing that I want to talk about and kind of bring up is, obviously, we just wrapped up a campaign for Maverick, spent a few days in the 114-degree heat in Nevada. One thing I want to understand from your POV is your shift and focus on content and art direction, creative direction for TYR, and why you want to make that shift, how you see that evolving, et cetera. I kind of want to get a deep dive into your brain for it.
No, I haven't really thought about why we did it because you did it. So I was just, I didn't really think about why we did so much art direction around it. I mean,
but I think overall is more so where I'm trying to go with it is how do you see TYR evolving into next year, right?
I mean, we're all about performance. So our customer is an ambitious customer who's setting goals. So our POV is, helping athletes or whomever reach their goals, right? So the product has to be great, but the inspiration has to be there as well. I think that sponsoring athletes is important, building community is important, but those campaigns provide a lot of the inspiration to get out there and go for your goals. I think that's part of why we want to move, into more campaign, art-directed photography, as opposed to, just events or just athletes.
It is interesting how the athletic space has shifted almost to I don't want to say luxury performance, but kind of semi-playing in the luxury space where people are spending $700, $800, $900 on a fit just for a run club. The consumer has shifted. It's interesting, but I do think one thing I think is interesting that you and I talked about is a lot of the brands, they feel very similar, and it is hard to find your own art direction, your own angle, your own creative direction that's it doesn't feel like it's all the same feed.
Yeah, I think that's tough. I think, I think the product has to matter, and I think it starts with the product and then kind of wrapping the art direction into the product and who you want your brand to be and connect with. But yeah, there's a lot of, commoditized brand looks these days. I think that, at TYR, we're focused on, like I said, delivering the best product. What was nice about the Maverick campaign was it centered really around the specs of the shoe. And I think that was a nice, it was a really important tie-in. I think a lot of the times campaigns are just aesthetic or art direction, but our campaign was really driving on, that the spec was, 7.7 ounces for, a men's 9 and 44 millimeters of stack height. And then what you did wrapping the storytelling around that spec was really important because that's what heightened the whole campaign. I think a lot of the times, it's more about creating a vibe, just an overall vibe, but it doesn't necessarily tie to the product. I think what made this campaign really solid was that it emphasized what the product was about.
I think that's one thing that I've been battling with for example, a lot of the brands that we talk about and we talk that, or quote unquote, these marketing creators talk about, they're just kind of making vibey content without breaking down the actual details and features of, okay, what makes this so tech heavy? What makes this fabric so good for runners, et cetera? And I think it's a miss and an open spot for a brand to have the art direction, but then also infuse the education in a way that's actually interesting, in a way that still has a lot of the creative direction and art direction. I think that's the open spot you know we're gonna take over next year.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the products that we're coming out with have really great specifications. We have a nice pipeline of in footwear. We have a couple running shoes coming out, a couple new trainers coming out. But where we start is on how is this product going to be better than what's out in the marketplace, and how is it going to help our athletes perform better or reach their goals or whatever it may be. But how do you also inspire them and tell a story around that product that gets the consumer to try your brand over, say, another brand? Because there's so many great products and there's so many great brands that how do you acquire a customer and keep them? You need to have some sort of campaign that's enticing, right? Or something that's interesting and different. It's hard though, because I mean, there's a lot of brands these days and they're doing a lot of very cool stuff. But I think it's a mix of whether it's campaign, the athletes that you work with, or the influencers, whomever it may be, what are the events you're doing, and how do you kind of wrap all of that together? I think it's the 360 is going to be very important.
If you're so focused on the performance and you're so focused on the tech and you're so focused on the product, and you're not, and as a brand, as any brand, not even just TYR, but you're not focused on the education, no one's going to know.
I think education is incredibly important, right, about the product. I think that a lot of the times they're brands that have awesome campaigns, but then when you go to buy, you don't necessarily know what you're buying.
Or you're completely let down. There's a few products I would say in the last 6 months that I've bought just because I like the brand and I've gotten the product and I'm highly disappointed. And I'm not even somebody that has an incredible expectation for the brand, but it was such a low bar that they set with that product that I get disappointed because I wasn't educated about it. I just followed like the art direction.
Yeah. Or there's other brands, like there's another footwear company that we talked to that has incredible tech inside of their like shoes, but they don't lead with any of the tech because it overwhelms the consumer. But so then you don't know when someone's going to buy that there is great tech that you're wanting to buy. And you kind of infuse all of the tech specs within storytelling without like dumbing it down too much, because you have elite athletes who are buying this product.
Yeah, I don't know why you would dumb down the tech if you work so hard to create it. I think that if your product development teams are working hard and innovating, you want to communicate that. Because at the end of the day, you can do all the marketing in the world, the consumer is going to be left with the product. And if they don't have a good experience with the product, it doesn't really matter what athletes wear or how amazing the campaign is. If you can't lift in the product, train in the product, run in the product, what's the point? Right? You have to have a good experience in the product. You want the campaign to, inspire the customer to try it, right? And then you want the athlete to have a great experience, and then basically tell their friends, hey, this campaign was awesome, but also the shoe is absolutely sick, right? So like it goes hand in hand. You can't market bad product. You need great product. And I think that a lot of the campaigns and a lot of the storytelling now is around the brand, but the brands need to make educational content about what exactly the tech is in the products that they're selling.
So going into 2026, what do you then see some of those content pillars being to be able to communicate some of those key factors?
I mean, for us, we talk about needing to do more around the education of our product. Like we have some elite training product and lifting product, and we don't think that we do we don't do a good enough job of communicating, why. Like, why do you need a carbon plate in your training shoe, right? It produces so much more power than not having a carbon plate. So if you get the shoes on people's feet, they go, oh, I get it. But how do you educate them, right, on your e-com site, or how do you educate them at an event, right? If they just look at it and they don't understand because it's new. I think when you're innovating, it's hard to communicate all the benefits without actually putting a product on somebody. But education around higher end product is something that we want to focus on, because we think that that's not necessarily getting communicated at scale in the best way. So educational educational creative is going to be something that the team is really looking into, is how do you make the PLP or the PDP look really solid and communicates that when a customer's exploring whether they want to buy a regular shoe or do they want to, level up to that elite shoe, is it really worth it for them? Do they have enough information to really make a decision? I think we should be giving more information, more data, because we have so much of it. I don't think we should be dumbing it down at all.
Agreed. I mean, I go through your guys' DMs super often looking at kind of like how consumers are talking about the shoe, how they were talking about Maverick, and a lot of them didn't know about the wide toe box as an example.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of times where you buy a running shoe and it feels like you have to almost mold your foot to the form of the running shoe. And in the Maverick, it was like the shoe molds to your foot. And there was 4 or 5 people that kind of referenced that. They were like, holy shit, it's so comfortable. It felt like it molded to my feet versus the inverse. And so I agree with you. And I know you and I have talked about it, where I think there's just like an education layer missing, but creating that educational content that's not just talking head, right? Like it's not just sitting at a desk and talking head. It's like if we're going to take this art direction and creative direction up to this level, we have to figure out how we stylize this educational content as well.
Yeah, I think there's a hierarchy of educational content. I think that you need the product to have, obviously, its headline, spec, right? Whether that's the weight to stack ratio, but the wide toe box, that's definitely a key feature, but it's more of a secondary feature. We weren't positioning the shoe as a wide toe box runner. That's not, we didn't want to go after that consumer base. It's wider, one, because it needs to be stable at that light of a weight and that high. So it's kind of a necessity, but also we found it more comfortable when we tested it with our athletes. But it's definitely a key feature, but it's not the feature that we wanted to lead with. The feature we wanted to lead with that we thought was incredibly special was the stack height to the weight ratio, right? And that there was so much stack height for how light it was and at that daily trainer price point. So I think that it's communicating what's important and figuring out, what's the most important thing to, your customer base or whoever you're targeting. Making that specification was incredibly hard, and that's something that we iterated on a lot and talked about quite a bit. And that shoe is quite a bit heavier at one point, and we said we can make it lighter. Do we really want to go for that? It'll actually delay the launch, but we said, let's do that. That's the right product to make. So,
walk me through kind of your thought process then when when I just mentioned the wide toe box, you're like, that's not the main feature. That's more something like extra that we put into the product versus this being the main thing that we want to build around and then the main thing we want to tell a story around. When you're developing a product, how do you think about that story arc based on like what you're trying to develop with what benefit? Explain that to me and how you figure out what is going to be the hero feature for the shoe.
The hero feature for that shoe in the brief was the flight time spec. We wanted the shoe to have the best flight time, and the development team said, well, in order for that to happen, we would need to have a shoe that's incredibly lightweight but have a high stack height. So the engineering team went to work on the foam with a design team on how to fabricate basically a shoe that could hit that specification. And then we iterated around that and we tested with LSUS, right? And we'd send them shoes, we'd get feedback back, we'd make changes, we'd test again, but that spec to us was top in the daily trainer market. Like that's right at the top of what all of the shoes are. So we said, hey, if we're going to make a shoe in this category, it needs to be there. Otherwise, there's not really a point. And what would be the point of someone buying a tier shoe if it doesn't have a specification that's better? So we lead with something that we think is going to be differentiated in the market. Like it has to be, otherwise what's the point? You're just gonna say, okay, the brand or the logo, it has to be. So that's hard. It's not easy to do, especially in the footwear space, but we did that with wide toe box lifters that had a different point of view. the carbon plate in, lifter in a training shoe.
Yeah.
So trying to innovate, I think, and then building the campaigns around that, but it starts with product innovation. So looking at the market and saying, hey, where is there space to make a product like a super trainer never existed? That's something that we came out with. I think that's one of our best shoes. Yeah. So looking for spaces that don't have products, right? And
Is some of that like athlete listening? Because of course you're looking at the market and you're looking for the gaps, but are you also listening to like some of your sponsored athletes or just general, like what people are saying that they need?
yeah, I think it's a combination. I think the athletes give feedback for sure, but I mean, they give feedback like they want more power off the ground, right? They don't give feedback like, I want a carbon plate in the shoe. This is like, I want more stability.
Right. So you have to translate
yeah.
that into tech.
Right. I want more stability. I want to feel lighter. I want to feel bouncier. I want to feel like I'm suspended in the air more, right? They don't say, I want flight time. I want to feel lighter. And I want to be suspended in the air. I mean, there's over the course of however long you're running, the more weight on your feet, the more fatigue you're going to have, right? It's like we're always trying to, have more stack, less weight. I mean, not all the time for every shoe, but it's listening to the athletes and trying to translate those needs into product.
How is it a lot harder for you to communicate those things? Because a lot of people know TYR as a swimming dominant brand versus, I know you guys have spent an ample amount of time and money and effort really breaking into performance, and you obviously have, but there's still that association with swimming, right? Like, and I saw it in some comments on other people making content about TYR and the Maverick, where it was like, people need to stop sleeping on TYR's performance products. Like, they don't know that it's not just swimming, XYZ. Like, how do you think about that evolution? Is it more, hey, we need just more volume around the performance, we need to have XYZ? How do you think about like breaking through that mold and setting just a new tone?
Yeah, I just think it's consistency over time. I don't really think we don't have to break through or do anything like that. I mean, the company's been doing swim product for 40 years and has been doing footwear for 4. Yeah. So it makes a lot of sense. I mean, right, you have, 10% of the time the company's ever existed, it's been doing footwear. So it's an understandable place to be for customers to say, yeah, it's a swimming company. I mean, we've made a lot of great tech and still do in swimming and triathlon, right? We've made some amazing speed suits that have helped Olympians win gold medals and break world records. So we have that heritage of making performance product, and swimmers are, they are very picky about their performance product, right? I mean, they're putting the product on it. Has to help them, basically every 4 years in a race that's under a minute. Yeah. So it's like everything matters. It's like everything comes down to that one race that could be, under 25 seconds. So it's just consistency over time. We have to keep making good product, keep making marketing that resonates with our customer, and just keep going. I think it's not going to be like one shoe. It's not one shoe that puts you on the map, right? I mean, maybe people will perceive it as one shoe that puts you on the map, but for us, it's like, well, we've been trying and coming out with lots of products. We have lots of shoes, so it's not like it's like what they say, right? It's like you're 10-year overnight success story or whatever it is. That's how it feels. So you just have to keep going and keep making product, and maybe eventually something blows up. But we just certainly don't feel like it's that we need to push. We feel like we just need to keep making product and just stay consistent in the spaces that we're in swimming, in the fitness space, and weightlifting. We don't bounce, I don't think, from trend to trend to trend. So just kind of staying in it and not feeling the pressure to have to do too much, and keep working through making really great product.
The last question that I have is centered around world building, and again, and with this shift in like creative direction and art direction. And I mean, one of the main things that you guys do as well is like you guys sponsor the top athletes, right? You sponsor the Tia Toomies, you sponsor the Dallin Peppers and Jason Hoppers and the people who are winning and have won for the last 4 years, right? And so that is like the pinnacle. But then when you think about the consumer, how do you think about the consumer who is actually buying the product and why they would want such high performance wear? And then how does that translate into TYR's world, right? When we're thinking about every single touch point across all channels, how do you want that experience to be? How do you think about that world? And when somebody's fully indulged in it, give me again, like your mental map of how you see world building for TYR.
I think that the regular athlete and the elite athlete have similar goals and aspirations around fitness, right? They want to keep getting better. So, I mean, that customer's at the center of our world, right? So no matter what you're doing, you want to get better, whether at whatever rate you want to get better at it. So our world is about inspiring people to ambitiously achieve their goals, right? Yeah. So it's highlighting stories of people who are pushing hard to achieve, right? And whether they fail or whether they make it, it doesn't necessarily matter so long as they're really trying. So that's been the world that we've really been pushing to create and highlight. I mean, even we do from the elite level athletes, even to some of our YouTube content where we focus on regular people who own gyms or competing, regular CrossFit events. Like, they have the same ambitions and the same goals. So at the center of our world is, hey, if you have a goal, if you're trying to achieve it, if you're serious about achieving it, we want to help you. We want to highlight you. We want to focus on you. You're our customer. That's what we want to continue to kind of build. And then we're the supporting role. Here's the support. You're the star, right? Like we're here to help you get to your goal. That's why we bring the product, we bring the inspiration, try to put on the events. But at the end of the day, you're the hero. Yeah. You're the one that has to do it. We don't have to. You're doing it. So we're here to help you, however we can. So that's going to be the world. And those are the types of people, those are the types of stories that we want to highlight and incorporate. Those are the type of events that we want to be a part of, or where people are ambitiously trying, and even failing is fine, and getting back up and going again and just not quitting. But yeah, that's the center of the world, and then you can just build out from that. Right.
So when people enter TYR's world, it's like they're stepping onto their own podium, their own first place podium.
Yeah, so long as you're getting better, right? I think that's great. And I mean, or reaching or striving for whatever goal, even if that goal might seem unachievable at the start, right? I think real goal setting, real ambition is at the center of our world. It doesn't have to, not that, improving a little bit every day isn't amazing as well, but it's cool to have big goals that almost seem daunting. And whether you get to them or not, it doesn't necessarily matter. That journey can be very interesting. And that's where a lot of character and growth comes from, is just saying, hey, I want to do something, crazy and actually pursuing that.
Awesome. That is my time behind the wheel. We're going to make a quick coffee pit stop, and Tatum's going to get in the driver's seat and start talking design, branding, storytelling, the whole nine. So we'll find a little spot to get a quick sip.
I'm excited to talk about brand. So I used to swim growing up. Nice. So I was always decked in TYR. And then I was always a huge fan of CrossFit during peak CrossFit games era. And so it was interesting to see TYR enter the scene because it felt very familiar to me, yet in a new space. And so my question for you really is, as you're looking at entering a new space, yet you're still serving triathletes and swimmers, what parts of the brand did you preserve and bring into the performance space from swim and triathletes? And was there any parts that you felt like you needed to update and adjust when you entered a new category?
Yeah, I think the performance end was what we pulled through, which was making innovative product. I think from swimming and especially triathlon, product is really, really important, and performance product. I mean, especially Ironman, triathlon. I mean, when you're going to be in a race for 10 hours, everything matters. But the performance part's what we pulled across. I think we had to think about the brand in reaching more of a general audience, because swimming and triathlon is so niche. So we were very much, when we were in swimming, thinking about highlighting the product, like literally the data, why this is going to make you faster, what the testing was, just tons of data. We would do lots of testing on our product, fabric testing, flume testing. So part of that definitely transitioned over, but then you also, need to do general marketing that is inspiring and aspirational. For the most part, when we would, like, say, with swimming, building speed suits, it was very data driven.
Yeah.
And it would be, coaches wanted to know, show me your testing, what athletes are wearing that, what were their performances. So there was a lot of validation through actual performance.
Yeah.
When you started making footwear, of course, there's part of that as well, but it's also making content that inspires, and we weren't doing so much of that until we really pushed into apparel and footwear in the last 5 years.
And watching you guys enter the performance space, especially when you're entering something like the niche world of CrossFit, they are such a community that is so deeply loyal. And so an outsider brand, entering that space, they're going to clock inauthenticity real quick if you're entering it for a cash grab. And it feels like as you guys have entered the scene, it's felt very authentic, and that you've kind of been embraced into that community. What was the strategy as you were looking at how do we enter this, new category in an authentic way?
I think we look at it through the lens of product. We made a lot of product. I think we made a lot of product, and we supported a lot of the community, be it events, athletes, but we made a significant amount of product. So, whether it's lifting shoes, training shoes, running shoes, we continued to bring out product. It wasn't just a single product that then we never updated. It was, hey, we're going to make everything that can fill the bag.
Yeah.
And that's a significant investment. But that's real. That's what we said we wanted to do, is that we wanted to, help these athletes perform at their best, and CrossFit athletes need quite a bit of product. So I think that helped us to communicate our sincerity with the customer base. And then obviously we partnered with a lot of athletes, and we've maintained those partnerships and grown those partnerships. I think a lot of brands are changing their strategies and reshifting, and that's not what we're doing at all. I mean, we've been very much partnered with a significant amount of athletes. We want to heighten the storytelling around them, right? We've been building YouTube, we've been building more with our social media. So I feel we've been very consistent with that, and I think that consistency has resonated. There hasn't been a pullback necessarily, like a big splash and then a pullback. It's been very consistent. I'm a big believer in consistency over time. You have to stay in it long enough to see the results. You can't kind of just back out. But yeah, product continues to be something that we will push on. We have a handful of shoes coming out this year, mainly focused around training and running.
Yeah.
So like we just had a recovery shoe that to me is very much an authentic way of thinking about our customer, and say, hey, you're making you're working out, you need recovery. We're not going to do a whole recovery line, but having products that support our athletes at every step of their journey.
I think something that's interesting about that too, though, is that the fact that you're in many ways, you're so into the world, right? Right before we picked you up, you did a 7-mile run. Yesterday morning, we hit a session at 7 o'clock in the morning. You guys also live that lifestyle where it doesn't feel like you're just developing the product, because that is something that is exploding, right? It's there's so many brands that are popping into fitness because they see it as an opportunity. And I know a lot of people like that they're starting a hydration brand because it sounds like it's like everybody is, the Atias and the Hubermans of the world are pushing it. And so it's a good opportunity to make a quick buck, or the peptides and all those different kind of categories. But it's like you guys are living in that, and it makes it so different when it's part of your lifestyle and you're just creating in many ways for your lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I just incorporated it into my life. I'm not an elite athlete, and by any means, it's just something that I think it's good to have as part of your life. If you want to live a healthy life, whether I'm not running, 6-minute miles over here, and I'm not going to compete in the high rocks, or planning to run a marathon. I mean, I'm not trying to do it from a brand building, or I don't want to be, building my own personal brand. I just think it's good to do it, and I enjoy doing it, and it's a good stress relief, and it's a good way to live your life by working out all the time, right? I mean, like yesterday we were doing a workout. Everyone has different weights. By no means was I was using heavy weights, but it's just good to do. Fitness should be part of your life, so it definitely makes it easier. I think it also helps that we have elite athletes at the company, but there's also people like myself who just like training. People that just like it, and that I'm the regular Joe. I'm the average customer. I'm not running super fast, but I enjoy doing it. So I think that's important. I mean, when I work out, there's still goals, right? I still want to be a bit better than the last time. I certainly don't want to go backwards. So that helps us when we're making product, because you want to make product for everyone. But yeah, I mean, I can't speak for other people who get in it from a business opportunity. I think if you're not going to enjoy what you're doing, then it's going to be tough to do it over the long haul.
Yeah.
So, I mean, especially when it gets hard, because running a business is certainly challenging. You can't say, well, I'm doing this just to make a lot of money. That type of motivation certainly fizzles pretty quickly. I mean,
And you can tell, I've been talking to some athlete managers and people at the event, and overall the SoCal Wadapalooza that you put on, people say it's so much fun. It's one of our favorite events to be a part of, and our athletes feel like taken care of, which I think that feels like it's a huge success. You're creating the recovery tools, you're listening to the athletes, and it feels like you're actively listening to the community and giving them events and things that they want. Has that been a part of the strategy as you've sponsored athletes and have run events, or is there kind of a new strategy you're leaning into in the future?
I mean, and innovation is part of the strategy, and creating is part of the strategy, right? So doing, listening to the community and trying to do new things is certainly part of the brand. I will always try to innovate around those things, right? With the TYR Cup and bringing in more of a Ryder Cup format and trying to do something different. That's important. I think it signals to, our customers that we are in the space. We want the space to do well. We have ideas for the space. We're actively here. We're in it. There wasn't a team event like this, for a while, right? CrossFit had done something similar in the past, but there wasn't one right now. We thought there was, an opportunity there. Bring it here. It's obviously a great location. I think that's again helps us be authentic, right? We're actively in the community, and we want to continue to do new and different things that will resonate. So all of it's part of it. I mean, you have to have all of it. You have to have product, you have to have the community piece, but iterating around community is fun and challenging as well, right? I mean, everyone's doing like a run club and giving out pastries at the end. Yeah. I don't know how much impact that's going to have now. Maybe in the beginning it was having a lot of impact.
Sure.
But certainly do it if you like, but I don't know if that's going to really resonate or differentiate your brand from someone else. I think that people wanted to have new experiences, and it's important for brands to bring new experiences. It's tough though, because when everyone's doing something, you say, "Oh, that's working," but eventually that's not going to work.
By the time it's already happening, usually it's over. So if you want to jump in and create the same thing, which that's why it sounds like you guys are constantly innovating and continuing to look, where's the hole, and creating something to fill that gap.
I mean, what you just said, when things are popping off, they're pretty much done.
Yep.
So it's like, okay, we could certainly do that. And I always say, like, will it have an impact? Like, yes, other brands are doing it, or it seems popular, but is it actually having an impact? Is it actually working? You know, what's the data behind doing it? Are you just doing it because you have to do something and that's an easy idea? I mean, it's so, does doing the same thing as another brand, does that hurt you? But yeah, I mean, you know, 3 years ago, there weren't running clubs like there are now, right? It's completely different. Where does that go? Does that turn into like, hybrid fitness, boutique gyms and that stuff? And then like, how long does that last? Does it come back all the way to CrossFit?
Right.
But it's going to keep changing. So, I mean, it's all under it's all in the world of fitness. So that's why for us, it's like, we're in fitness, whether it's swimming, it's triathlon, it's weightlifting, it's running, it's just fitness. However people want to do fitness, we want to be there and be part of that world. So, thinking about what's coming next, or trying to create and maybe borrow from other places, because I mean, everyone's just looking at the fitness world.
Yes.
Maybe looking at what's happening right in other spaces and trying to borrow and take from that. But
what other spaces do you look at? So you're not looking directly across the aisle and ripping.
That's hard. I think you can look at you can try to look at anything, right? I mean, you can look at other sports, you can look at fashion, right?
Yeah.
You can look at what's happening there. That can be interesting. You know, you try not to replicate the same things. I mean, like obviously this event here in California is a play on what goes on in golf, right? Like there's obviously a similar format, but that's a format that's been used in many spaces. I think, you know, ties a little bit to TYR, right? Like the Olympics are for your country, and that's very that gets the fan base really involved and going. But I think just looking at how, you know, other spaces, how people are interacting with the brands, the governing bodies, and trying to say, hey, can we borrow anything? But yeah, it's certainly not easy. There isn't one place we just look and go, all right, let's just steal from there. But I mean, everyone's stealing from someone. That's reality. Whether people say they are or not is fine.
That is also
reality.
Such a skill to be able to look at other industries and translate not only, okay, let's pull inspiration from fashion, that could mean anything, and then it's all about aesthetics, but being able to say, okay, interesting, this format within golf is working. How do we translate that in a unique and creative way that resonates with our target audience? Like, that is truly a skill set. Do you find that's in your wheelhouse, or are you able to kind of empower your teams to go seek that inspiration and apply it?
Yeah, I think it's both. I think it's in my wheelhouse and certainly in my team's wheelhouse, where, I mean, you know, we definitely would want to do more. You need to find the right partners, and you need to have, you know, the athletes and the community on board to do it. You know, they're big investments to do these big community events and try to do different things, especially when there's no way of testing it prior, right? You're just kind of jumping in with both feet. I mean, this event, you're just jumping in. There's no way to say, hey guys, if we do this style of events, everyone going to show up? You just go like, let's do it. That's why you have to kind of look at other spaces and see what's really resonating. But I mean, their brands doing Grand Prix runs that are great. I mean, that's obviously borrowed from, you know, other spaces. So everyone's doing that. Everyone's borrowing, but I mean, you want to give people new experiences, right? You want to give them different ways of either participating in fitness, experiencing fitness, how that ties to the brand or not. But you want to keep trying to deliver something that's differentiated, and the more you iterate, the more challenging it gets, because everyone's doing the same thing.
Yes. My last question for you. I find when you're looking at, as you guys are growing, as TYR is growing as a brand, and you're looking at these brand giants like the Nikes of the world, and often I think what makes those brands so sticky, that I'd argue Nike was kind of first on the scene with, when they said, hey, we're gonna have Jordan wear a shoe and we're gonna pay those NBA fines, is a very unique brand position. Like, there is a personality and a vibe that people want to be a part of, because when you're building product for elite athletes, like, having the right product and the right tech is table stakes. So who is TYR? What is that personality you're bringing to the performance scene?
I think it's the consistency to keep delivering. For us, it's just going to be making great product and being known for innovating over and over and over. I think that's very hard to do. It sounds like what everyone says, but it's very hard to do. And to continue to make product, each season and have a story to tell about new tech and performance is what TYR will or is about and will continue to be about. Even if we've made a great shoe, to not sit on necessarily that tech and to try to continue to evolve. That's performance is the brand's point of view. I mean, that's a very ambitious take. It's a brand for people who are ambitious and pursuing their goals. So for us, it is table stakes, but keeping up with those bigger brands and making shoes that rival those other brands is incredibly challenging when you're not a $50 billion public company, right? There's a reality to that. So just that in itself, and continuing to be an option that's not necessarily, a corporate giant, and being, a privately owned family business, that's it's not an easy task to say that. Everyone would say, oh yeah, of course she's going to say make great product, but it's not easy to keep up with, the likes of, the giants who have, buildings just for making foam, right?
Yes.
So that, I think the people want different options than just the handful of footwear brands that exist. There have been a few brands that have broken into the space and they've had unique product POVs. And I think that our POV can continually be around innovating, especially now around this stack height to weight type of product. I think that's, we've seen stack height before, but we haven't really seen it at low weights.
Yes.
So innovation, consistent innovation, it might not be the coolest sounding soundbite, but that's where we really want to stay and be.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for hanging with us and talking brand and everything that TYR is. I mean, consistency over time and innovation over everything. I mean, what a brand POV. That's incredible. And I'm personally stoked to see what you guys do next. I'm a huge fan, since I love to run, of the Maverick, especially since I run in a lot of Hoka shoes. Putting that on my feet and going for a run in something that didn't feel like it weighed 10 pounds was amazing.
Thank you.
So I can't wait to see what's next.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate it.